Hi, my lovely. Hi.
In 2019, Courtney Hadwin's parents found her holding scissors to her throat not to die, but to destroy her voice forever. The same voice that got her the golden buzzer on AGT. The same voice Simon Cowell called supernatural. At just 15, she believed her gift was cursed. She'd already received death threats, spent 3 months locked in her bedroom, couldn't even speak to delivery drivers. The girl who stunned 310 million viewers was now Googling how to damage vocal cords. The truth about what really happened will shock you. Courtney Hadwin was born on July 6, 2004, in Hartlepool, a small industrial town in England. Her parents, Anne-Marie and Paul, worked hard. Her mum cleaned offices at night, and her dad worked at the shipyard. At just 8 years old, something strange and amazing happened. While alone in her bedroom, Courtney was listening to her grandfather's old Janis Joplin records. Then, without warning, she started to sing. Her voice didn't sound like a child's. It was raspy, powerful, and full of soul, something nobody expected from someone her age. Her parents were shocked. They thought maybe someone had broken into their house. The sound was that strong. Neighbors even stood outside wondering where this voice was coming from. Doctors later said Courtney had an unusual vocal cord structure. It gave her voice a rough, smoky tone that usually only comes after years of wear or a lifetime of smoking. But Courtney had it naturally at 8. But while her voice stunned people, her mind was battling something else entirely. Courtney suffered from severe social anxiety. At school between the ages of 6 and 12, she barely spoke to anyone. In fact, records showed she said fewer than 100 words a year to people outside her family. She didn't even ask to use the bathroom aloud. She wrote it down on paper. At lunch, she would hide in closets just to avoid people. Her psychologist said her anxiety was on the same level as adults with PTSD. Her parents had to choose between heating their home or paying for therapy. They spent over $3,000 to help her feel a little safer in the world. Then one night in 2014, everything changed. Courtney was just 10 years old. It was October 15th, and she stood on stage at a small talent show in town. There were 127 people watching. She froze for 30 long seconds. Her hands were shaking, and her grandfather thought he'd have to carry her off stage. But then the music started. Proud Mary. Something inside her switched. Suddenly she was no longer scared. She sang like a pro, full of fire and energy. The room went wild. People clapped for 4 minutes straight. Some even cried. A video of that performance went online. Within 2 days, it had 50,000 views. Her grandfather, Bill Hadwin, became her rock. A retired steelworker, he stepped in to help. He was 68, but he didn't care. Between 2014 and 2018, he drove over 47,000 miles in his old Ford Focus. He took Courtney to every show and audition. He kept track of everything in a notebook, even gas money and the snacks they bought after shows. He spent his entire pension, $8,400, on her. He even sold his tools to pay for a recording session. He didn't know anything about music or the internet, but he taught himself how to run a Facebook page and YouTube channel. When Courtney had her first big audition in London, he drove 312 miles and slept in his car to save money. Everything he did came from pure love and belief. Then came her biggest chance, The Voice Kids UK, in 2017. But getting there wasn't easy. 3 talent shows had already rejected her, saying she was too unusual. But that uniqueness was exactly what made her special. At 14, she was still shy and quiet off stage. But once the music started, it was like watching a different person. She became fierce and fearless. Producers tried to get her to sing a pop song. Instead, she picked Nutbush City Limits by Tina Turner, a song from 1973. She knew it was a risk, but she trusted her gut, and it paid off. The moment she started singing, the judges were stunned. will.i.am called her performance supernatural. He had seen thousands of auditions, but this one shook him. The other judges were silent, watching in disbelief as this shy teenager transformed into a rock legend. That moment went viral. People couldn't believe what they had seen. She kept performing with that same energy all the way to the finals, but she didn't win. Jess Foley took the top spot. Yet what happened next made headlines. Jess admitted in interviews that she thought Courtney should have won. She said Courtney's performances were so powerful that they raised the entire competition. Industry experts agreed. Some even said Courtney lost because her style was too intense for a family show. But in the end, not winning gave her freedom. She wasn't tied to a UK record deal. She could now explore bigger things. But fame also brought pain. Back at school, Courtney became a target. Some classmates mocked her performances, calling her the screaming girl. They made memes and jokes that spread fast online. It wasn't just teasing. It became cruel. Teachers found her crying in hallways. Her grades dropped. The same talent that made people love her on TV was now being used against her by kids at school. Courtney Hadwin's journey to America's Got Talent started with a risk that most families would never take. Her parents, Paul and Anne-Marie, lived in a small village in County Durham. They didn't have much money. Paul worked as a joiner. Anne-Marie was a part-time teaching assistant. But they believed in their daughter so much that they took out a $3,000 loan secured against their house. That was almost 3 months of their income. They sold Anne-Mar's car. They cancelled a holiday. All of it just to get Courtney to Los Angeles for the audition. They had no guarantee she would even make it past the first round. If things went wrong, they could have lost everything. And things almost did go wrong. On July 10th, 2018, just hours before her audition, Courtney froze in her hotel room. She had a full-blown panic attack. She couldn't talk, couldn't move. She cried silently for hours. Her mom had to dress her, carry her down the stairs when the elevator broke and help her into an Uber. Courtney was so shaken, she threw up twice on the way to the theater. She even begged to go back. Her mom sat beside her, whispering the lyrics to Hard to Handle over and over, trying to calm her down. When they got there, the production team didn't know if she'd even be able to perform, but Courtney had prepared like her life depended on it. Between March and July 2018, she practiced Hard to Handle 247 times. She wrote it all down in a purple notebook. She rehearsed every day for hours in a garage her family turned into a studio. Neighbors complained about the noise. She wore out 3 outfits just from sweating too much. One split at the seams, another had sweat stains that wouldn't come out. She lost 8 lbs from all the movement. Her vocal coach started to worry it was becoming unhealthy. But Courtney couldn't stop. She was all in. Even with all that effort, she still almost didn't get the chance. Simon Cowell's team rejected her twice. First in February, they said she sounded too much like other rock singers. Then again in April. They didn't think she had the X factor for American audiences. They told her to stick with local shows. Then just 12 days before filming, another contestant had to drop out because of visa issues. Her casting assistant remembered Courtney. She begged the producers to give her a shot. That's how Courtney finally got her place. And Simon Cowell hadn't even seen her audition tape before she stepped on stage. When she walked on that AGT stage in September 2018, her hands were shaking. She could barely hold the mic. She looked so shy and quiet. But then she opened her mouth and started singing Otis Redding's Hard to Handle. Everything changed. Her voice was bold, raw, explosive like Janis Joplin. The crowd was stunned. The judges couldn't believe what they were seeing. Her family always knew she was shy. Her grandfather once said she used to sing in her sleep. That made what happened on stage even more incredible. Her nerves didn't disappear. They became part of the performance. It was real. It was unforgettable. Howie Mandel didn't wait. Just 45 seconds into the performance, he hit the golden buzzer. It was the fastest one in AGT history. He was that sure. He compared it to the moment Clive Davis discovered Janis Joplin. He didn't even wait for the other judges to speak. Courtney was going straight to the live shows. It broke the format, but no one cared. Howie said he had never felt that kind of star power so quickly. That buzzer wasn't just a moment. It was history. Then the world found out. Her audition video hit 1 million views in the first 6 hours. By the end of the week, it passed 130 million. It went viral in every sense of the word. Tyra Banks said it had reached over 310 million by the time Courtney did her second live performance. That kind of reach was unheard of. And it wasn't because of marketing or ads. People shared it because they were blown away. One moment she was just a teenager from England. The next she was a global sensation. The video hit 50 million views on AGT's YouTube channel in just 5 months. Years later, Simon Cowell admitted he made a mistake, a big one. He said not hitting his golden buzzer for Courtney was the biggest regret of his judging career. He was reaching for the button when Howie hit it first. He said he was stunned, frozen, For a man who's known for being cold and quick to judge, admitting that showed just how much Courtney had moved him. That one audition changed how he looked at everything, and he never forgot it. The moment the episode aired, Courtney's life changed completely. In just 24 hours, she got over 50,000 messages online. Some were fans, some were weird, like marriage proposals, but a lot were serious offers from record labels and talent agencies. Some of them were offering millions before she even advanced. Her social media exploded. She went from hundreds of followers to over 100,000 in a week. Her family had to get outside help just to manage the flood of attention. It was too much for them to handle alone. Courtney Hadwin wasn't just another teenage contestant on America's Got Talent. She was a storm wrapped in a school uniform. When she stepped on stage for the semi-finals on September 11, 2018, and belted out Tina Turner's River Deep Mountain High, something electric happened that night. 12.8 million people tuned in. It became the most watched AGT episode of the entire year. NBC even moved her performance to the final slot of the night, something they usually reserved for their biggest names. Another 8.2 million people watched the episode from 47 different countries within just 24 hours. On social media, over 2.3 million tweets flew across the internet. For 6 straight hours, she was the top trending topic in the world. But what most people didn't see was what happened backstage. Courtney was just 14, and while her voice filled the room with fire, she was quietly fighting battles of her own. Panic attacks, anxiety, sometimes she couldn't breathe. There were moments she hyperventilated for 20 minutes straight. Before a performance, she shook. She vomited. It got so serious that NBC brought in a full-time therapist, Dr. Sarah Mitchell, just for her. Her mom flew in from England just to help keep her grounded. The worst moment came right before the finals. Courtney locked herself in her dressing room and wouldn't come out. It took the therapist and producers to finally get her to open the door. And somehow through all of it, she never missed a single performance. The pressure wasn't just internal. Outside the stage, the world was watching and betting. Her fellow contestants, including eventual winner Shin Lim and finalist Brian King Joseph, didn't just admire her, they expected her to win. Shin, who rarely posted about other acts, called her the most naturally gifted performer he'd ever seen. Brian said her talent made him question whether anyone else even belonged in the competition. In Las Vegas, the bets started stacking up. Big casinos like Caesars and MGM had her as the 2-1 favorite. William Hill said 67% of all bets were for Courtney, and this wasn't after a season of greatness. These odds came after just her audition, but then came the finale and a choice that would change everything. 3 days before the final performance, her team made a bold decision. Instead of giving her another rock anthem, they chose a softer, emotional song. The goal was to show the world the real Courtney, stripped back, vulnerable and raw. She sat still during parts of the song, made eye contact with the audience, didn't dance, didn't scream, just sang. It scared her more than any high-energy song ever had. It was brave, and for some fans it was a letdown. She didn't win. Courtney finished 6th, not 2nd, not 3rd, 6th. A girl who had broken viewership records, who got the golden buzzer, who had odds in her favor. Simon Cowell had even said, "You're going to be the winner." Yet when the results came in, she wasn't even in the top 5. Simon's reaction was caught on camera. His jaw dropped. His face went blank. That single image spread across the internet like wildfire. Within 24 hours, he called her to his house. Then he gave her a record deal with Psycho and Arista Records. The results didn't matter.